In today's video, I'm going to take a look at stock market. Um, One of the things that you can basically bet the farm on is that human nature never changes. So I'm pretty sure we've got an intermediate cycle low here. But as we were moving down here, like we always do, I'm hearing calls of a new bear market has started, even though this is not how bear markets start. They don't just start with a sudden collapse in the stock market. And I've heard that at every one of these. Same thing here, beginning of a bear market. Same thing here, same thing here, certainly here. This was our slingshot move down. And on back for the past, 12, 13 years. It's the same at every single one of these. Human nature never changes. When it does change, when this has gone up long enough and far enough to where everybody becomes convinced that any buying opportunity is, or any correction, no matter how large, is a buying opportunity, that's when the bull market will be over. For instance, let me switch this chart. All right, this is one of the Bitcoin miners, and this, this kind of sentiment is very prevalent in Bitcoin. Traders, it's gone up long enough and far enough to where traders are completely convinced that any dip is a buying opportunity. And that is a sign that a bull market is over, and that the bubble phase is done. And this to me, this looks like a completed bubble. So we've got the parabolic move, we've got the first crash, we've got a weak attempt to recover. Sometimes you'll make a double top. Sometimes you can even make a marginally higher high. And then we've got these series of lower lows. Now price has failed a couple of times here to regain the 200-day moving average, and the 200-day moving average is turning down. Now, I would posit that this would not be happening if Bitcoin was still in a bull market. The miners would not have this this bubble, imploding bubble pattern. But crypto traders have become locked into the mindset that Bitcoin can never go down. It can't have a secular bear market, even though all of the signs are there that is what is happening. When we start to see that kind of mentality in the stock market, when we get a crash like this off of some kind of a parabolic move, then everybody thinks that it's a buying opportunity, then that is the sign that the bull market is over. But we don't really have anything that I would can clearly say is a parabolic move. Price has been kind of holding in this channel, not stretching terribly far above the 200-day moving average. And then from time to time, we get these intermediate cycle lows that convince all of the perma bears that the bull market is over. And so they keep repeating the same mistake over and over and over and over and over. Every single time we get an intermediate decline, they make the same mistake. And then another a trait that happens is that when we do get the bottom, and all of the signs are there that the intermediate bottom is in, and then at that point you need to be buying and holding your positions. The traders, they have the memory, the recent memory of this decline, and so they cannot hold their positions. They're still nervous. They're nervous and fearful when they should be greedy and fearless. So, I watch this at every one of these intermediate cycle lows. We get, a decent rally, and it's pretty clear that the intermediate cycle's bottomed. And then I see traders want to take profits, or they want to try and re-short the market. And then what happens is they just miss the the first 3 weeks tend to be the most powerful coming out of an intermediate cycle low in stocks anyway. This pattern doesn't really hold up for metals. Metals often churn, and the cartel will try and beat them back down. So in metals, the bottom is a completely different pattern. It's one where usually the bottom gets retested. So last Monday, well, not the Monday of this week, but last week, I said I thought this was probably the bottom. I think I gave it about a 70% chance of being a bottom. I was kind of expecting the bottom to come on the FOMC meeting. But, it can happen a day or two before the meeting or even a day after. There was the possibility of retesting that low, which is what we did here on Friday. We retested the low. But, I said at the time that I thought this big reversal candle probably was going to turn out to be the intermediate cycle low. We'd had everything that qualified as a bloodbath phase, so there's no reason to expect the market to top and come down and make a lower low. You generally don't make lower lows once a bloodbath phase is over, and this one clearly is. And then as we started this violent back and forth pattern, I'd mentioned in my nightly reports that this is a pattern that I often see at these bottoms. Sometimes, not always, sometimes you just rocket launch right out of the bottom and you don't have to go through this. But when we do get this, the bulls win this battle usually about 90% of the time. Every once in a while, if you get a reversal here that's a little bit too early in the daily cycle, and sometimes you can come down and make a slightly lower low. But this was coming late enough that we didn't really need to make a lower low. And then plus with the FOMC meeting as the trigger event, the only chance we had to really come down and make a lower low was right here on Wednesday on the FOMC meeting, and we didn't. You can see we didn't quite do it. And then we tried one more time on Friday. But this violent back and forth action, this is a typical bottoming pattern, and now we're in the best part of the intermediate rally, and as usual, like I said, human nature never changes. A lot of traders are going to try and take profits too soon, and they're going to miss the best part of the intermediate rally. So, in reality, I don't think I would really try to take profits on this move until we come up and retest these highs. And I've mentioned this before as well, that very often the first daily cycle out of an intermediate cycle low will recover all of the intermediate decline. So I don't see any compelling reason to expect this will be different. Sentiment at this bottom was about as bearish as it was at the March 2020 bottom. So we've built a lot of fuel to drive this move, and we've got, as I said, human nature is doing what it does, and people are trying to take profits early because they still have the memory of this locked in their brains. They're still fearful, and they're still nervous because they remember this, and they haven't been able to flip the switch to the bullish side and get on board and then hang on in recognizing that the intermediate cycle low is behind us. So certainly there is going to be a down day or two in here somewhere, but I don't think there's really any compelling reason to risk missing parts of the rally simply because you're worried about maybe getting caught in one down day, or because you think that this is going to come back down and test the bottom. Very unlikely at this point that we're going to come back down and test the bottom. I think smart money, the professionals, they understand what's going on and they're buying any dip here. It's only the emotional retail traders and inexperienced hedge funds that would be trying to take profits here and dodging, maybe one-day corrections or expecting this to come back down and retest these lows. It's unlikely, in my opinion, at this point. If we were earlier in the daily cycle, then maybe that would be true. But this reversal candle here, this bottom came well into the timing band for the daily cycle to bottom. So I don't anticipate really much chance of retesting that low. And on top of that, we've got a weekly swing, and the market is moving back above that 10-week moving average. So, fight your emotions that are telling you, it's just not safe, and you got to be careful because of what came before. That is gone. You need to, push that out of your brain and now get back on the bullish side and get positioned for this first daily cycle is probably going to test these all-time highs before we get any real significant correction, something that lasts more than a day or two. Maybe the drop into a half cycle low. I think there's a decent chance that this initial thrust could go all the way up and retest this high before we even get a move into a half cycle low.